So much is known about this boat, but so little about the people boarding it. Despite weeks of delays and concerns over fire safety and infection control because of overcrowding dismissed by the government, their plans to house asylum seekers here was today finally afloat. Waiting for them at the port was cameras and carnations as a group of pro-migrant campaigners welcomed the new arrivals. So a van's just arrived that's got permission to go onto the grounds of the Bibby Stockholm, and it's going to carry in care packages for people that have arrived today, and included in them is a postcard with a phone number on the back saying contact us if you need help.
I want to take a photograph.
We're not publicising that number, thank you.
Then don't put it in there then, mate. Don't put it in there.
It's not for you.
It's not for you, it's for someone else.
But for every warm welcome, there's a hostile rejection.
Do you know there's a lot of families on the island that are lucky to eat one meal a day?
Yes.
And these lot are getting free.
While we didn't see any far-right groups today, locals tell us the issue has been seized upon by far-right members from outside the area.
We've had them leaflet in the area, we've had their banners out. I've seen so much far-right propaganda. I've never known the far-right leaflet or seen their banners in this area before. So I worry they're going to get into politics here, actually. I worry that they're going to try and get council seats and they'll politicise the situation that's going on here.
The plan is the 220-bedroom barge will eventually house 500 men. Looking at it, you'd be forgiven for thinking this is a floating prison. The Home Office insists it's not, but does send a strong message.
Because of the crisis we have in the Channel, we have to provide accommodation, and we have to stop spending £6 million a night of taxpayers' money on hotels, which to some extent are luxurious. What we need is more basic accommodation to stop the pull factor. The Prime Minister has made it clear he wants to reduce the backlogs, and we're doing that.
While the government is celebrating a successful launch of their Small Boats Week, Labour is pointing out its headlines over headway, with the use of hotels by asylum seekers rising by 25% since December. The same month, the Prime Minister promised he would cut the hotel bill and move people out. Over 50,000 migrants are now living in hotels.
Rather than continuing with these unethical, unworkable plans, it's high time the government actually used that money to crack down on the people smuggling gangs, get a grip of our asylum system and get those returns agreements in place too.
Let's talk numbers. 339 migrants arrived on 7 small boats on Friday and Saturday. That adds to the more than 15,000 asylum seekers arriving across the Channel so far this year. Then there's a backlog of over 170,000 asylum applications. 15 people boarded this boat today. It was expected that up to 50 people would go on the barge today, but as you heard there, just 15 asylum seekers will sleep on that boat tonight. The Home Office said today that the barge as accommodation is being offered as a no-choice accommodation, but that didn't stop around 20 asylum seekers remaining in their hotels today following a legal challenge by the refugee charity Care for Calais. Their lawyers were able to stop transfers from happening. They've told us that among their clients there are people who are disabled, people who have survived slavery and torture. They've experienced traumatic times at sea. We were also told today by multiple people that work with migrants that asylum seekers are being told that if they board the barge, their applications for asylum will be processed more quickly. Tonight, the Home Office denied that that was happening.
Thank you very much, Emily. Emily with the reporting. Well, I'm joined now by the Chief Executive of Care for Calais, Steve Smith. As we heard in Emily's reporting there, 20 people didn't get on board. Just explain again the reasons for that, and are there more people that you're speaking to?
OK, let's look at the big picture and the small picture. In terms of the big picture, we as an organisation are fundamentally opposed to the use of this barge to house, or we would even say warehouse, asylum seekers. As was explained in the article leading up to this, these are people who've experienced some of the worst traumas life can offer. So it could be kidnapping, it could be slavery, it could be war, persecution, you name it. They've been through horrendous situations to get to where they are now. Putting them on a barge that, as has been described, resembles a prison, may easily be turned into a detention centre, resembles a detention centre, and potentially re-traumatizes those who have been detained and potentially tortured overseas, is not a good thing in our view. Added to which, the fire safety concerns, which have been in the public domain for a few weeks now, the potential for crowded corridors, smoke-filled corridors, people trying to escape, 506 people put into a barge that was only intended for 220. All of these are bad things, and so we as an organisation fundamentally disapprove of the use of that barge. Now, in terms of...
Sure, I just want to get in there. I just have to put, the government have said that there's a nurse on board, there's a bus that goes into town. They are making this as comfortable as possible. Fire safety checks have been done so that people can get on board. So from their point of view, they're doing all they can to make sure that people are comfortable in this situation.
Well, of course, we could take that further. So, yes, there will be buses. We understand that there's going to be a shuttle bus service going once every hour. It comes back at 11 o'clock at night, after which there are no further buses. So it effectively creates some sort of curfew. And in any case, what do people do who are only paid £9.40 per week? OK, so they've got their bed and board, but their excess cash is only £9.40 per person per week. So even if they take the buses somewhere, what do they do at the other end? It's not as if they can go to great centres of entertainment or anything. So the problem you've got then is the only exit from the barge effectively is to go through the secured area in the buses. So it's not described as a detention centre, but to all intents and purposes, it becomes one because there's nowhere else to go.
The government have said that the costs are £6 million a day for the hotels. Sorry to cut across you there. I'm just doing it for time. £6 million a day for hotels, and this is just unsustainable. This is British taxpayers' money going on hotels. They're trying to save money.
Well, of course, it's unsustainable. But what do you put higher? What do you put a higher price on? Do you put it on people's lives, or do you put it on cost savings? Added to which, the real problem here is the appalling backlog that's built up. You know, as was quoted, 170,000 plus cases. It's absolutely absurd. If you went back 10 years ago, there were 380 caseworkers who were able to push out about 14 asylum claims each on average per month. Now there are 1,200, so roughly 3 times as many, and they're pushing out 4 on average per person per month. It's absolutely absurd. The system is completely broken.
Steve Smith, I just want to put one more... I'm so sorry. I just want to put one more point to you before we go. This reaction to today's developments. Lee Anderson, the Deputy Chair of the Conservative Party, he said if they don't like barges, then they should something off back to France. So just briefly, what's your response to that?
Well, it's exactly the sort of comment I would expect from somebody like that. There was mentioned earlier that using something like a barge will have a deterrent effect. It will stop the pull factor. Of course it won't. The whole point is that these people have been through absolute horrors. If you've been going through Libya, you've been captured and tortured on the way, if you've been through a war zone, if you've crossed the Mediterranean in a flimsy boat and seen friends drown alongside you, if you've crossed the Channel, if you've lived rough around Calais, OK, the thought that you may or may not have some hard overhead accommodation when you get here, but at least you'll be safe, that's going to be better than anything else. So, of course, it's not a deterrent.
Steve Smith, thank you very much for your time today. Thank you very much.